Greetings. Welcome to my weekend market recap 29th January 2022. I'm Sagar Nandi, retired IT professional swing trading stocks using the Q systems and techniques that I develop. You may contact me using my email ID tradingprofitably@gmail.com. I regularly share live stock and market analysis on sagarnandi.com, my website, YouTube channel Trading Profitably, and Twitter handle Sagar Nandi. You are most welcome to make use of them. Disclaimer: this demonstration is for educational purposes only. I am not an investment advisor. It is not a trade recommendation. Trading involves risk. You and only you are solely responsible for the outcome of your trades. I may mention about options trading from time to time. You may refer to the characteristics and risks of standardized options document from Options Clearing Corporation to decide if option trading is suitable for you. I use the Q systems for my trading. They run as add-ons to the TradeStation and Metastock platforms. Now these systems are very robust, not only deciding trades, but deciding where we are in the market. Being correct about the market to a large extent decides if we are correct on a stock's movement. And we'll see some live examples by looking back on Twitter how using the Q systems I was able to anticipate a stopping of the market turning down. And this is a tweet I posted on January 24th, midday Eastern Standard Time. And in that tweet, I showed that the percentage of stocks in the lowest bucket in the bucket analysis was 57.6%. This is part of the Q breadth calculation, market level analysis. Whenever the bucket percentage in this lowest bucket goes to 30-40%, then we know it is severely oversold and it is time for the market to recover or at least to pause. That happens almost always in the bull market. In the bear market, it may continue to be weaker, but we are not in a bear market yet. We are still in the bull market. And when it hit the 57.6%, I tweeted about it right at that time. And soon after that, on same day, January 24th, I tweeted once again. This is around 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I showed using the intraday fine-tune charts on the 4 market ETFs, IWM, DIA, QQQ, and SPY, all using 10-minute charts. I observed and I shared it immediately in real time that all of them had bullish headwind possible reversal signal. Looking at that, I mentioned that it is too early to say if the market has found a bottom. However, to take note of the bullish headwind reversal signals, extreme reversal signals, while the bucket was showing that a reversal or pause in the down move was impending. And now if you look back, I remember when I shared it, not many people were thinking about market finding a bottom. But if you look back now, this is the daily weekly chart of SPY. I tweeted those tweets on this day, right when it was at the bottom, at the lower half of the candle, using the bullish headwinds. And now if you look back, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, price has not breached those bullish headwind levels in the 5-tune charts. We now have a bullish candle in SPY at the end. We'll look at it at more detail, but I first shared this analysis looking back on the tweets to show that how using live analysis we can make important and effective market decisions that affects our trading direction, and that is one of the key ingredients to trading profitably. Not just trading, but trading profitably and consistently. I look at the USA market more in depth, but first let's have a quick look at the global market, starting with Australian index all ordinaries. Once again, if you look back when price was at this place, looking at the bear release signals at watermark resistance levels, I suggested shorting using short call vertical, and that trade happened to be a highly profitable trade. Highly profitable meaning the reward was much bigger than the risk taken in the trade. Now on Friday we have a bull release signal. Prior to that we see that jump and thrust both hit the extremely oversold level, magenta colors, from where a recovery is likely. We also see the big move 3 with bullish pressure U-turn. So a lot of bullish signals at an extremely low level, oversold level. So price could go up from here. However, there is no Q trade setup on all ordinaries. Therefore, though I'll be cautious about holding a short position. Why? Let's clear the charts again. Why I'll be cautious about holding short position? Because we have a bull release that came after jump and thrust extreme low. We have big move up 3. We have bullish pressure U-turn, very high volume. So I'll be cautious about holding shorts now, but there is no long trade setup. Is it in an uptrend now? Certainly no. The sharp drop broke the uptrend or sideways move. Earlier it was moving sideways. That's why we could take a sideways range box short setup at the top. That sideways range is now broken. There is no trade setup right now. Not at all bullish. What about Japan Stopics Index? Here also the range in weekly created by the trend line resistance and support, it is broken. In the daily, the watermark supports are broken. It was also moving inside a box. Now look back once again. When price was here, at that time it was at the weekly trend line resistance. For topics also, if you watch the earlier YouTube videos, I suggested short at this point, and once again we would use short call vertical. That trade turned out to be very profitable. Now we have similar signals, less strong but similar to Australian market signals. We have bull release that came after jump and thrust low. We have bullish pressure and U-turn. What we don't have here that we had in all ordinaries of Australia is that we don't have big move up 3. So it stabilized, giving enough signals that I will be cautious if I'm holding short positions, but there is no long trade setup using Q techniques. What is the direction now? Uptrend is broken. It is now in a downtrend. China market CSI 300 index. A familiar pattern. The trend line is broken in weekly, watermark support, pivot support is broken in daily, so it is not in an uptrend anymore. On Friday, unlike in case of Australia and Japan, we don't have a bullish recovery. It closed at the bottom of the candle, so it is looking much more bearish than Australia and Japan markets. Certainly there is no bullish setup. If anything, the shorts taken at the top here can be continued to be held. We don't have any concern about reversal in China market as of Friday. UK market FTSE index. So FTSE was one of the markets that was in an uptrend, and it is continuing to be in an uptrend with higher low, higher high. When we saw the bearish headwind right at the top, we would be cautious, and that caution was very useful because price pulled back. Then it recovered as one would expect for an instrument in an uptrend. And it recovered from where? Right from the trend line support. It did give bullish flow. However, the flow long setup, that is a trend following long setup that relies on the flow color here, that did not confirm because we had an upper tail in the candle. Here the market is continuing to be in an uptrend if we look at the daily, but there is no long trade setup and there is no short trading possibility because trend line support is nearby. Is it very bullish? No, not very bullish, especially when we look at the weekly chart. We have two bearish indecision at the top. That is not bullish. Daily is in an uptrend, but the weekly is saying that it is becoming toppy. The pattern is becoming topping pattern, but we will not short as I mentioned because there is a trend line support nearby. FTSE in an uptrend. And India's Nifty 50. India's Nifty 50 is showing something that in my book I mentioned as wild swings. Usually in an uptrend, an instrument remains between the middle of the two boundary lines, value area and the upper boundary. In a downtrend, it remains between the value area and the lower boundary. That is a normal uptrending, downtrending stock. And while moving or while swing areas are when from the lower boundary it straight goes up to the upper boundary, or when from upper boundary it goes straight down to the lower boundary, both of which happened here. So we have wild swing area here. Now wild swing areas can mean uptrend where the swings are bigger than usual. So in this area the swings were following a certain pattern that is displayed by instruments in strong uptrend or downtrend, and now we have wild swings, but that may mean uptrend in a longer term interval. So if we look at the weekly now, it has trend line support, price is coming down to trend line support. If it goes up from here, which will mean that we'll go up from the daily trend line support as well, that will give low risk and I think that will give high probability long trades as well. Are we able to take such a trade on Friday? No. Let's clear the charts, lines. On Friday, we have a very bearish close. Price closed at the low of the day. The color is also red. Weekly color is also bearish. So we don't have any long trade setup in Nifty 50. However, if price comes to this trend line support coming from far away, there will likely be a bounce from here, at least in the fundamentally strong stocks, and you might trade them either using stock long instrument or using short put naked if you are willing to hold the stocks longer term. If not, if you are just swing trading, you may not want to use short put naked, you may use short put vertical in that case. So now it is not ready to be bought, but you may watch out for a bounce long setup in Nifty 50 in the coming days. And that is how we can anticipate a trade. Get ready. What do I mean by get ready? Get ready means we now look at the strongest fundamental stocks in Nifty or in the Indian market as such and get ready. Make a list of them that are likely to give a long setup technically. We get ready with all that information. Nifty 50, longer term, I will say it is in an uptrend. If we just look at the daily, we have to say that it is in a wide range area. That will also support a box long kind of setup, box plus bounce long kind of setup if price reverses from the watermark support and the trend line support both. So we have now a mixed picture from the global markets. India market, you could say sideways or uptrending in between those two. UK market in an uptrend. Australia, Japan, China are in a downtrend. Is this giving any idea about the USA market? As I showed, the tweets I posted on Monday, they were very effective. And now let's look at the USA market more detail. Let's go back to SPY. Look at the signals again. The signals that we saw in Australia, Japan, they are visible here also. SPY hit thrust and jump magenta dots, extreme oversold levels from where a recovery is likely. That was visible on Monday itself when I first tweeted about the market possibly finding a bottom. Then we have on Friday big move 3, same bullish move, very bullish move I may say, that we saw in Australian market. We have bullish pressure on Friday. We have a reversal candle. That is also a powerful signal. Reversal candle. Is there any trade setup? No, there is no trade setup. It did stop at the white direction line. It did show the bullish indecision. It did show the bull release. And price did reverse from the watermark support also. So if you looked at the daily chart, all the requirements of the box as well as bounce long setup, both were confirmed. Did we have a box setup if we applied checklists on both weekly daily? No, because box setup, that is a setup to catch double bottom or triple bottom at these watermark pivot levels. That setup requires the weekly to be at least yellow, at least neutral color. That is not true. Then we have bounce setup possibility. Do we have a bounce setup in SPY? Yes, we have. Bounce setup requires price to move down sharply and suddenly, stop at a pre-existing trend line support or watermark support if it is deep enough. And in this case, the watermark support is deep enough from the recent down move. So we could use the watermark support for bounce. We had a valid bounce setup on Friday. And if you observe carefully, in fact, you had a bounce long setup on Monday itself, the day when I tweeted about the market possibly finding a bottom. Let's clear the drawings. What are the requirements for bounce long setup? Why don't we go to the chart, to the checklist? These are unambiguous trade setups using checklists. Let's go to the checklists page under Learning Center, trade checklist, bounce checklist. All of the following conditions. All. Candle should be hollow or has a long upper tail without, long lower tail without upper tail, no upper tail. So I'm looking at the long setup. So this checklist condition is met, and whether I am looking at it, you are looking at it, a class 10 graduate or high school dropout is looking at it, they will interpret the checklists in exactly the same way. Candle hollow or lower tail, no upper tail, that condition is fulfilled. Reversing from memory trend line or distant watermark support pivot level, yes, that condition was met. Closing above previous day's close, that was made on Monday itself. I will show that again on the chart. And recent activity or pressure, very high activity or bullish pressure. There is no weekly requirement for the bounce long setup. Now let's go back to the chart. On Monday itself, we had a bullish shape candle that stopped at distant watermark support, reversed with very high volume after declining with very high volume the previous day, and the closing was bullish because we see the activity bar is green. So on Monday itself we had a bounce long trade setup. Not many people would like to buy, isn't it? However, all the Q trade setups, and that I mentioned repeatedly, the success rate of all the Q trade setups are identical. The occurrence of the Q trade setups vary. In a bullish market, trend following flow trades will come much more often than bounce trade. However, when they appear, whether it is bounce setup or headwind reversal setup or box sideways setup or trend following flow setup, their success rate is identical. So you could trade on Monday itself. What would be the instrument of choice? That would be short put if you wanted to hold SPY long term, but that would be risky. This is not a stock on which we could assess fundamentals and look at industry strength. So I would not like to do naked put on SPY. I would rather do short put vertical, or I could take long call vertical also. Now let's go back to the tweet. I wanted to mention one thing, and that I tweeted at that time also. When I tweeted this on Monday itself at 1 p.m., I showed that bullish headwind was there in all the four market ETFs: IWM, DIA, QQQ, SPY. Now, which one would I buy? I would buy IWM because it was also breaking out of trendline resistance, and that's what I did at that time. Right at this time on this candle, I bought IWM using options. The volatility was very high, so I used verticals. In this case, I used long call verticals. If I remember correctly, I could structure the long call vertical in a way that my long leg volatility was lower than the short leg. So I had volatility also aligned with my trade using that vertical structure. Why didn't I use short put vertical is because I would then be buying the higher volatility leg, the lower leg that would have higher volatility. Volatility would not be my friend. I didn't want that. So I used long call vertical. I used the long leg little bit out of the money, knowing that if it recovers even somewhat, it would explode in profit. And I anticipated that IWM would go at least to 200, and I structured the legs accordingly, and it did easily go to 200 on that day itself. I think so, on Monday itself. Let's check back on the daily chart. Let's look at IWM now. This was Monday's candle. Let's see the high. High was 202.39, close 201.53. So I anticipated a reversal using intraday bullish headwind and breakout of trendline resistance. I took a vertical long call position, and by the close of the day I had, I think, about 60-70% of max profit. My rule is that if on the entry day an options trade give 50% of max profit, then close at least partial position. So following that, you could book partial profit, and once you have 60-70% profit, you could sell a number of legs in a way, number of lots in a way that the remaining lots are practically free. You would get your money back. You could sell the number of lots in such a way. So I held at least a partial position next day. Let's magnify the chart. Next day price opened little bit lower relative to Monday's close. Then it was moving up down. I closed my entire remaining position I closed when I had about 40% of max profit. So I could buy at the lowest point using 10-minute chart. I could book partial profit at the close of the day, and then I closed the remaining position next day. That was a good idea also, isn't it? Because after that price has come down. Now of course we have a bullish headwind in the daily interval, and price did hit jump and thrust low. A recovery was likely, is still likely. However, we don't have a bounce setup here. Now we don't have, because bounce setup will require a pivot support or trendline support. We don't have that. Do we have a headwind long trade setup? That reversal long trade setup? No, because headwind trade setup requires the weekly candle to be bullish in shape, is indecisive in shape. We see also a bullish indecision, so it is indecisive in shape, or it requires the weekly color to be yellow. All these are mentioned in the checklist. So we can be cautious if we have a short position. I don't have a short position in IWM, but there is no long trade setup yet. We may anticipate a recovery because we have a bullish headwind, we have hit extreme jump and thrust low, but we don't have any long setup. What about QQQ? QQQ has found support at the weekly watermark pivot. It has displayed a bullish indecision in weekly. Daily has a bull release, bullish shape closing at the high of the day. After hitting jump and thrust extreme low oversold level, from which place a recovery is likely. And we have here also big move 3 at jump and thrust low. We also have a bullish reversal. We have a bullish pressure. So many of the bullish signals that we saw in SPY are there in QQQ on Friday. Isn't it beautiful that I could anticipate market stabilizing on Monday itself? That seems to be coming true on Friday. Again, are there many bullish setups? No, not on the market ETFs at least, but it is still oversold jump and thrust levels. So we'll see if it can go up. I'm expecting at least some of the fundamentally strong stocks that were extremely oversold may go up. Go up how much? I don't know, but go up enough to give us a profitable swing trade. Before we look at the stocks, we'll look at the market first with Dia. Yes, it has also found very nice support at the weekly trend line support. Bullish close in weekly, though the color is still bearish. Daily reversed from the watermark supports from the same level where a bullish headwind had come earlier, from where price rallied. So we would anticipate price to stabilize at this point anyway. So Monday was the right day, right call from my tweet that market might stabilize. On Friday, what we have? Bull release again, bullish traffic light, very bullish close. After jump and thrust hitting magenta color here, we have big move up 3, not 3, sorry. In this case, we have big move up 2, bullish pressure. We have bullish signals in Dia, but SPY and QQQ had a lot more bullish signals. Namely, both SPY and QQQ had big move 3 up, and they also had reversal. The reversals are also very bullish signals, especially when they come either at pendulum low, which was not true for the market ETFs, or at jump and thrust low, which was true for QQQ and SPY. So we may expect a recovery from here. The tweets were very effective, meaning the market breadth analysis from different angles and the headwind reversal signals came very handy. Now, incidentally, if you looked at the market ETFs intraday yesterday, Friday, using 30-minute chart, and I do keep an eye on all the 4 market ETFs on a separate monitor. Some of the market ETFs, okay, it's not showing here on Q Global. On Q Elite that runs on TradeStation, the brokerage platform, here I keep an eye on the market ETFs. And yesterday I noticed using the 30-minute interval, IWM, DIA, QQQ, SPY. All 4 of them gave the bullish headwind reversal signal at the same time. Bullish headwinds are to be taken seriously, and what I also say, when bullish headwinds come in the same instrument in multiple intervals. Like if you have bullish headwind in both weekly and daily for a stock, we take it even more seriously. Or when bullish headwinds come in related instruments in the same interval, like in this case. 4 market ETFs, same interval, 30-minute, and all of them displaying bullish headwind at the same time, we take it more seriously. If you did that, you could once again take a bullish options long trade that would end up with a very high profit by the close. Which one would you use? You would use the one that looked the strongest intraday, and that might have been QQQ. From the beginning of the day, QQQ was relatively stronger than the other market ETFs. So on Friday, you could use QQQ to take a long call vertical, just like I used IWM long call vertical on Monday. So I do keep an eye on the market ETFs, and I look at different intervals. Not 1-minute chart. I'm not one of those very fast traders. It's just to have an idea about what the market is doing and take some options trade but not naked options trades. That would not be efficient in any case when the market volatility was so high. Well, so the market ETF study helped us take some options trade at the bottom, and it is telling the recovery may happen, but let's see what the let me rephrase it. Recovery may happen, but doesn't mean it may be very bullish. Recovery may happen for enough days or hours to give us some profitable swing long trades. But before concluding that bullish bias on our trades, let's look at the market from the other angles. Very useful market breadth total view that is calculated using the two composites, two exchanges, Nasdaq, NYSE, and four major indices, Russell 2000, S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, Dow Jones Industrials. In the previous webinar, I pointed to this Phoenix signal, and I explained that Phoenix should mean that something is going to rise from the ashes, and that's probably what Ian Woodward, may him rest in peace, had in mind when he designed all these signals and named them. So we had a phoenix after a series of bingo, and I showed, and I will show again today, there were many more bingos than this chart is showing, because this chart on Metastock cannot show two signals on the same candle. So on the days when we have distribution count, we are not able to see the bingo, but we can see the bingo from the Nasdaq and NYSE charts. I will look at that. I showed in the previous webinar we had large number of bingos. What are the bingo down arrows? Those are baby out of bathwater. Everything of value was also being sold. Then we had a phoenix, and we would expect from those signals plus the 3-month new high low being at extreme low, that market would bottom, and did so in fact, and we had one accumulation count of 1 on Friday that came from Nasdaq 100. On the right hand side, from the entry template on the market total view custom index, we see some familiar patterns. Jump and thrust hit extreme low. Then we have bull release signal on Friday, very bullish close, big move up to bullish pressure. That's all. So we have enough bullish signals to think that it will continue to go up, maybe to the trend line resistance, maybe to this watermark support, which will be resistance now, and probably both the trend line resistance and watermark support, which will become resistance, will be at the same point by the time price goes up there. And there is a possibility, high possibility I think, that it will reverse from there, from the trendline resistance and watermark resistance. But this distance may be enough for us to take a long swing trade. That is how I am looking at the market and deciding on my bullish bias from oversold condition. Now, what about the market breadth view on the exchanges, Nasdaq and NYSE? See these down arrows? As I mentioned earlier just now, we had a lot of days with baby out of bathwater in Nasdaq. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in about 2 weeks or so. A large number of bingo days, everything was being sold. And we did have this Phoenix. We had a Phoenix here also in NYSE. And we had one bingo. So NYSE non-tech stocks were being sold, not so much. Was being sold, but not so much, not so indiscriminately as it was being done in Nasdaq. And we can see the two composites also hit the jump and thrust, hit the 3-month new high low, lowest extreme, from which point a recovery was impending. Also, I mentioned always I mention, whenever the yellow line, the percentage of stocks above 50 MA goes to 20% and then tilts up, that is the time to start to look for buy setups. We are still in the process of forming the base. Friday we had a very bullish close that may lead to an up move next week, enough to take some swing trades. Now having said that, what about the mega caps? Let's look at the mega cap custom index. It broke the support at this point. It was inside a range until then, broke the support, broke the white direction line, yellow direction line is already above price, hit jump and thrust magenta, and then on Friday we have big move up 3 with bull release, which is shown on the candle also, and a reversal. So that is also pointing to a possible up move, probably up to this trend line resistance. Then we'll have to see if it is able to successfully break out or reverse, just like we saw in the total view custom index. For now, the bias from all these angles is continuing to be bullish. Now is the time to look at the market, not using technical charts but from other angles. Let's look at the bucket analysis. Remember the tweet I shared on Monday when the percentage of stocks in the lowest bucket was almost 60%, I think 57% or so, and see the percentage now, only 4%. So a large number of stocks that were below the lower boundary lines, they went up. Did they become bullish? That is answered by this pie chart, percentage of stocks above mid-Bollinger Band. No, they did not become bullish. Percentage of stocks above mid-Bollinger Band is still remaining very weak, only 14%. Most of the stocks are below mid-Bollinger Band. What does it mean? It means that the stocks went up from below lower Bollinger Band somewhat, not enough to be in an uptrend. They are very much below the mid Bollinger Band. So what we are expecting, if I am still having a bullish bias, what this bucket analysis is telling, that I am expecting some oversold stocks to go up, not necessarily to be in a very strong bullish trend, but it could be a reversal trade setup. We have many reversal setups, 3, but for distinct market conditions, bounce, box, headwind, we could look for those setups, or we could look for stocks that are giving trend following long setup now. What does it mean? If in such an oversold market where 86% of stocks are still below mid Bollinger Band, we have a flow bullish long setup, that means that stock held up very well. You could look for those stocks flow setup in the current market, that means the stocks didn't drop much, or you could look for reversal setups also. Now Friday was bullish, but was it enough to change the whole week to a bullish color? Let's look at the 1 month to 1 day sector, industry, stock, advanced decline, breadth. When I showed this chart in the previous market roundup, I showed that most of it was very red, and I mentioned it was oversold. And that analysis came very true, very effective, and very profitable if you traded that. Now 1 and 2 day periods are green, but it was not enough to change the weekly color to green. It is still remaining majority red. So we may expect a bounce, but we don't have a bullish week yet from this sector, industry, stock, advanced decline, breadth. If we want to look at the sector percentage performance, on Friday all sectors went up, 11 out of 11, and they went up by significant percentages. Infotech was the top performer went up by 2.8%. Communication services was also very strong. Healthcare was strong. That is worth noting because healthcare was languishing for a very long time. In fact, the two buy setups, possible buy setups I shared in recent days, they were both in healthcare stocks, big pharma stocks. Over 2 day periods, Friday, Thursday, we have 9 sectors up, 2 down. 1 and 2 day periods are bullish. If we take a step back, 5 day period is still very bearish. Only 3 sectors are up. The red bars are energy. Energy is remaining strong for a long time. Consumer discretionary and utilities. Now utilities is a defensive sector. So we are left with 2 possibly growth sectors up over the week. That is energy, but energy was already strong for a long time. It may be a bit late to enter long positions in energy. Consumer discretionary by a relatively smaller percentage, but 1% for the week, I have to say it is small relative to all the big down bars we see over 10 days and 1 month. So market is still very oversold. We may expect a oversold bounce. That's also leading to my bullish bias on the market. Nothing that we have seen so far as of Friday's close tells us that it is time to take short positions. Will that change if I look at technical breadth? Technical breadth balance between bullish and bearish signals. I calculate them by using Q Finder scans. Takes about 5 minutes to process 1000 plus stocks to look at all possible bullish bearish signals and see them visually, graphically first before deciding to drill down. What is the weekly picture telling? First, look at the all signals. Overall picture, weekly technical breadth remaining bearish. Where is the bullish color more? Here, reversal signals. And I tweeted about it, I think, during the week that we were getting many more bullish reversals. So that was the time to start to buy using headwind box or bounce setups. Weekly picture is showing many reversals. And now if we look at the percentage of bullish headwinds in the weekly interval, that is above 1%, almost 2%. That is also pointing to a further recovery from the current oversold level. So we have 2 reasons to consider buying on the weekly technical breadth. One is very large number percentage, 85% of reversals are bullish, and the percentage of bullish headwinds in weekly interval is much more than 1%. What about the daily Friday's interval technical breadth? Here, not only the reversals are extremely bullish, 99%, cannot get any better than that, isn't it? All signals also very bullish, 91%. Strength signal bullish, trend continuation bullish. We have a lot of bullish signals on Friday, technically. The weekly is also allowing us to buy technically. So that is also contributing to my bullish bias on the market for swing trading. Having said that, let's now look at the stocks to find some possible long setups. The weekly picture is still not bullish enough. So let's look for stocks that are strongest in fundamentals, strongest in industry strength, strongest in sector strength. We can find them using top-down analysis starting with QH. Before that, let me point to one thing. This is under development. You see the question mark. I had a question from many traders who started using Q systems that what is the best way to learn about all these action buttons, smart action buttons, smart filter buttons, and I created detailed videos for that. And then one gentleman also suggested having a context sensitive help like tooltip, and now I have implemented it, already finished implementing in Edge, Vital and Finder. You will see this question mark in Edge also. If it is black, then no message is shown. So if I navigate to Finder just like that from Edge, no message comes. If I go back from Finder to Edge just like that, no message is shown. If I click the help button one time, it changes to green. Green means show me the help text but don't do anything. So first time, if you are using Q types programs, the ones that I'm showing now, first time you may turn it green and click the buttons. So let's click this button. What does it say? Go to sector scorecard. So if I click this button, it should go to sector scorecard, and you see it did not take me to sector scorecard. So I'm just getting familiar with all these buttons. This one, go to industry scorecard. Okay, this one, go to Q Vital. Okay, this one, go to Q Finder, so on and so forth. Now if I turn it red, now it will display the help message and take the action. So I got familiar with all the buttons on this screen. I came to know that gear means industry, number of people means related to fundamental analysis, magnifying glass means related to Finder, cloud means related to seasonality, so on and so forth. Now I am actually conducting the top-down analysis with tooltip help on red color. So click this, go to sector scorecard. Okay, it went to sector scorecard. Now let me choose the two strongest sectors: infotech, communication services. I want to find the strongest stocks in strongest industries, in strongest fundamentals, strong industry, strong sector. So these two sectors, I am choosing the top two, that is the top 20% also. Click this button, it shows the tooltip help, Q help, drill down from sector to industry. Okay, I'm drilling down from the strongest two sectors to all the underlying industries. Fine, it comes to industry scorecard. Let me sort again by 1 day score. During market hours, I will sort by real time. Now markets are closed. Again, I'm highlighting the rows that are having checkered background. That means top 20% again. Now drill down to stocks. Okay, click this button, drill down from industry to stock. I drill down to S&P 1500 stocks, from strongest sectors to strongest industries to fundamental scorecard of all the underlying stocks. Now click the diamond. It is going to show me the undervalued stocks with high positive earnings and revenue growth. Okay, those are the strongest of the strongest. I'm left with only two stocks, FLT and APPS. I'm going to click this button. What is the tooltip? Look up technical signal from Q Finder. Okay, let's go to Q Finder. APPS digital turbine. Let's read the technical signals now. We already found the two stocks, only two stocks, strongest of the strongest in terms of fundamentals, in strong industries, in strong sectors. Only two. Apps up by 8%, FLT up by 3.6%. Now important thing is trade setup. We have unambiguous trade setups. Which one of these two stocks have an actual trade setup? That is FLT. A possible box long setup with a reversal candle with a bullish pressure. That's good. So I will like to, I could look at digital turbine, but I have become used to trading only Q signals and setups, not even signals. Finally, I can look at signals, but I finally trade using setups. The advantage is I have unambiguous checklist. So I am not going to be interested in digital turbine. I'll be interested in FLT. Now is the time to look at it using technical charts. Oh, by the way, let me go back. For Finder, the help message was turned off. That's why it opened the chart without showing me the message. Let me turn it on. Red color will show the message and then go to the chart. Click the button again. Open Q Global Technical Chart. Okay, let's do that. Now we are on the daily chart. Let's change to the weekly daily at a glance so that we are able to apply the checklist conditions. It had a bull release signal with bullish pressure and price stopped at this watermark pivot, which would mean some watermark pivot in the daily chart also. We are not able to see it, maybe longer term, which I can see in the weekly interval. Weekly here, weekly candle color, yellow or better, yes, it's better, cyan, and daily color, yellow or better, yes, yellow is cyan also. We also have a bullish flow. Do we have a flow long trade setup? You could say that. You could say that it already had higher high, higher low, and a bullish flow. So you could consider buying this stock FLT at the close of Friday using two trade setups with stop just below recent low here, and we would like to book profit at the upper boundary. This is how you could use top down analysis in real time and find a low risk buying opportunity. Now let's look at FLT's fundamentals with Q Vital. I drill down from Q edge sector industry. Now let's look at one page scorecard. Carry out fundamental peer analysis using Q Vital. Okay, let's do that. Q Vital is retrieving data from Refinitiv. No data is stored on my computer, and you see how strong this stock is fundamentally. Difficult to find a stronger stock. Possible, but let's look at it. Let it retrieve the peers. It's retrieving the peers here. Give it a few more seconds. Retrieving the peers. Once the peers are retrieved here, it will retrieve data about all the peer stocks as well. No problem. I can have a sip of my coffee. While it is retrieving the peers, let's also look at the industry graph. FLT belongs to data processing and outsourced services industry, alternate industry, business support services. We already know that it was one of the strongest. In the USA market, we have currently 148 industries. By the way, these systems are extremely real-time and dynamic. If tomorrow a new industry comes in the USA market, maybe let's say Mars exploration industry, some stock in that industry, that stock and that industry will automatically come in QH. You don't have to do anything and I don't have to do anything also. So currently we have 148 industries in the USA market, and this industry, FLT's industry, is right at the top, 148. Went up by 4.1% on Friday. very strong performance. If I want to now look at only this industry with rotation, go to industry scorecard. The rotation is also very bullish. Earlier it was magenta, now it is very cyan. And if I go back to the vital scorecard, the data has been retrieved now. Let's read the strength of the stock in terms of fundamentals. On Friday went up by 3.6%. Undervalued stock. Secondary valuation is also undervalued. Great earnings quality. High earnings growth in the last quarter. Last 2 quarters. Prior to that it was negative. So earnings is improving, you may say. High revenue growth in the last quarter. Last 2 quarters. Earlier it was negative. So revenue is also improving. Funds are accumulating. 91% of peer stocks went up on Friday. So not only that the relative score of the industry is very strong, in itself the peer stocks are very strong. That's how you can find the best buying opportunities even in this kind of market. Now this example I showed, if I go back to the chart, last couple of days the market dropped a lot, but this stock did not drop last couple of days. If anything, it is maintaining higher high, higher low. Earlier it hit jump and thrust magenta dot. So we could expect a recovery from there. You could probably start buying from here itself, but that's fine. I didn't identify it at that time. You could have. I identified as of Friday's close as a box setup, which is a sideways market reversal setup, reversing from this watermark support in the weekly chart. Now I'll not spend time on top-down analysis mode, but let's go to Q Finder. Let me show how you could do a similar analysis using bottom-up approach. Okay, I think I pressed something on my computer keyboard that vanished all the programs. No problem, it is probably a way of my computer telling that you are beyond 1 hour. Let's end today's session here then. You have the Q systems, most of you have. If you are watching this video, you may carry out a bottom-up analysis using Q Finder to find also stocks that are giving proper buy setup, that are with great fundamentals and in strong industries as well. Not difficult to do that using the Q360 degrees technique. Thanks for joining today. I look forward to seeing you in my next session. The next public session will be coming weekend. I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks once again. Have a great weekend and no reason not to do that. Trade profitably.